And what are like the solutions? Let's say now someone is not having a kid. One solution is adoption, as you said. The other is just like accepting the fact that you can't have kids. Is there any other solution to
So
this?
medical technology is excellent for a lot of this stuff. So then you actually go into doing diagnosis what the problem is. So sometimes the problem is so simple is that her periods are irregular because she's not producing eggs. What's called PCO. So you give her tablets and she can get. So I always tell people, if you can get pregnant in your bedroom, don't waste your money coming to me. It's much more fun in your bedroom, but give me a box of chocolates when you get pregnant. That's the only kind. But the point is that it's a stepped care approach. तो गाड़ी फर्स्ट गियर में नहीं चल रही तो क्यों नहीं चल रही? तुम उसको फर्स्ट गियर में चला सकते हो कि नहीं? अगर उसमें नहीं चली तो सेकंड गियर इज कॉल्ड IUI. You're increasing the chance of egg and sperm meeting. अगर उसमें नहीं चली तो it's good to know कि थर्ड गियर ऑप्शन है, IVF है, but that should not be your first option. It's a final common pathway for lots of problems, but you should reserve it for when you've exhausted simpler alternatives. Lots of patients aren't happy hearing that. And then again, at some point I say, तुमको घाई है तो IVF करो. मैं थोड़ी मना कर रहा हूँ. पैसे तो तुम मुझको देने वाले हो. Why should I stop you from doing it? Yeah. It's just my philosophy is that if simple things work, then don't medicalize an issue. And quite frankly, I'm in that position where I don't do IVF for the financial income anymore. I do it because, hey, I'm good at it and I enjoy it. So I can afford to tell that. You know, a lot of doctors, perhaps when you're starting practice, don't have that ability to be able to say that.
Yeah.
So.
You're one of those rare people I've interviewed on my podcast who is like let's say like there is some sort of conflict of interest for you to say नहीं करना ही चाहिए, IVF करना ही चाहिए, but you yourself being an IVF specialist, you're saying कि अगर नहीं जरूरत है तो नहीं करना चाहिए, which is like so honest and.
But there are so many people who actually need it. Why should you do it for the ones who don't need it? First, मरने के बाद ऊपर जाना चाहता हूँ. I don't want to kind of did something which is wrong. So I do care about the quality of money. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think just earning money, I think beyond the point how much money you're going to earn, what are you going to do with it? Yeah. I think if you earn it well, it's...
Yeah. Very, very inspiring conversation actually.
No, thank you. That's so kind of you.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun. But just last question, which I want to touch upon. I watched one of your previous podcasts and I observed that you have a very big library in that video interview which you did on Zoom. So, and I've also heard that you've read more than 10,000 books in your life. Is that true?
So I'll tell you two things. I think books are such an underrated resource. I mean, someone has spent their life distilling their wisdom in one book, which you can buy for 200, 300, takes you 2 to 3 hours, and you don't read it. Then what is the difference between an illiterate person and you? And actually, I blame the schooling system for this. I blame the fact that you force kids to cram textbooks. So you're squeezing all the joy of reading away. So I think reading is the best way, and that's my preferred style, and I just enjoy it. And the great thing is you can share what you learn with other people. So yes, I have lots of books. I have an anti-library. My anti-library is more exciting than my library.
Meaning?
My library is the books I've read. I already have that knowledge. I know where I can find it. My anti-library is all the books which are waiting to be read.
Oh, wow.
Because, I mean, this, like I said, I may know some stuff, but the amount I don't know is huge. That's where the fun is. How much fun is it to keep on doing the same thing again and again? It's fun to learn something new, fun to figure out. So I may think about a problem, but someone has spent their life thinking about the problem. Then they come up with insights. It's mind-blowing. Oh, wow, that's the way. Why is democracy so broken? Why is, so many other things. And how much but if someone has thought about it, written a book, so that's fun for me. Two things though, I'm not allowed to buy any more books. My wife and I say, because my books are a mess, I use the floor as a shelf. I said, okay, climb up karo, jab chahiye to, we'll this thing. So now I do all my reading digitally. And so there's one thing which I have, which again doesn't fit. Lots of people disagree with a lot of what I say. But I think I hate the fact that books are priced. And a lot of people say, but isn't that good? Because after all, it's the author's copyright, properties, put in all that work and effort. I said, stop and think about what you're saying. The author wrote the book because he wanted to have an impact on readers. The author's greatest joy is when lots of people read his book and engage with him and interact and say, your book was good, bad, I don't agree, will you write another book? Or I got this insight from my book. With the current way things are, who makes the most money on the book publishing industry? It's the middleman. It's the publisher and the bookstore. That's a broken system, which is why I'm a big believer in peer-to-peer. So all of Apni Pathshala is peer-to-peer learning. All of Napster was peer-to-peer music sharing. All of Spotify. You need peer-to-peer for books. And there is a great site called Anna's Archive, which of course all these publishers have been trying to shut down for donkey's years. I hope they never succeed. But I just, basically what are they saying? Knowledge is a public good. If you share knowledge, कोई दूसरे का नुकसान नहीं होता है. वो किताब का जो, it's different. For example, if you're sharing a burger, then you only get to eat half a burger, which may not be fair on you. If you share a book, the knowledge actually multiplies. That's the difference between Lakshmi and Saraswati. And the great thing about Anna's Archive and a PC is all the world's books are available to you instantly.
So at a lesser cost or free of cost?
Zero.
Free. Oh, wow.
So like I said, people have this ethical constraint. Oh, you're breaking copyright. I said, let's be honest. The only people who make money on copyright are the biggest racket in the world is medical journal publishing. Do you know why? Who does the research? The doctor. Who pays for the research? The hospital or the government or the taxpayer effectively. Then they publish. Who reviews the article before it appears in the medical journal? Some other doctors who do it as a labor of love. And then this journal, when it gets published, for something which has cost him the cost of the paper, which is 100 rupees, he charges 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 rupees for a subscription.
People buy 30,000
What
for the
choice do you have?
subscription.
That's your medical journal. That's your source of knowledge. Complete ripoff. So I don't know whether you know this. That's why Modi ji started that national library of this thing but again, I think that just made a bad problem worse. But if I were him, I'd actually encourage Anna's Archive. Knowledge is meant to be free. In fact, why did the internet first get originated? Do you remember? The whole point of the internet was that anyone could share information with anyone else. It was meant to be that decentralized network that even in case of an atomic attack, people, in that case, it was academic institutions, would still be able to communicate. Then the DARPA took over. But the fact still remained. In the original days, the whole point was knowledge wants to be free. Now, of course, Google has monetized it and Facebook has and all that other stuff. But there are still these pockets. So I think ultimately that's the stuff we need to be thinking about. Are we using that? And the US is the biggest hypocrite in the world. When it suits their convenience, you want a free market. When it doesn't suit their convenience, you want to put tariffs. Because don't BS us, okay? At least don't pretend to give us lectures and don't tell us to listen to you. Accept the fact that you're doing it only to become the world's richest country, which wants to bully the rest of the world, and we live with that. But humko lecture to mat do.
So have you read more than 10,000 books?
Yeah. But even that's not important. It's not important. It's okay. So I'll tell you a big problem. I think the way people read books, what do people do because of your high school habits? You start from page 1. You plow your way all the way to page 300. You've forgotten what was on page 10. Everything between page 20 to 280 was irrelevant for you. You slept through it and it took you 6 months to finish the book and you hated it. And therefore, you're not going to pick up a book again. Terrible habit. You've got to learn how to read a book. The right way to read a book is to read a book actively. Because you as a reader contribute as much to the book as the author does. Because the way I read a book and what I take away from it will be very different from your reading the same book and what you take away from it. It's not a blank slate. And I think that's a big problem. And I think unless you change that habit, so you should mark up a book. You should, it's a virgin. It can't be touched. You shouldn't underline. You know how people have this thing about books and stuff. And I think those are terrible habits. And the more you do it, the more it becomes your book. Right now, when it's published, it's the author's book. After you've read it, it should become your book. And it's okay. 80% of the book is rubbish. 20% of it doesn't apply to you, whatever else. Even if you got that one idea from it, which made a difference to your life, it's more than...
If you learned something new from this video, do share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel so that we can bring you the best content possible. Also, if you want to watch this entire episode, click on the link in the description box and you can go to Kushal Lodha YouTube channel and watch the entire podcast episode. Thank you so much for watching this and have an amazing day.